Hi, this is Vic. In this tutorial, we'll be looking at the loops in Java. Loops are also known as iterators. Loops are used to repeat a block of code as long as some condition is true or for some specific number of iterations. Loops basically provide an easier way to do the same work again and again without writing the code multiple times. Now let's see at the first variant of loop that Java has. This is the while loop. This is the structure of while loop here. Now this starts with a keyword while, and in the parentheses we have to provide condition. As long as this condition is true, the body of loop is executed, and as soon as this condition became false, the loop is terminated and the control goes to the next line after the loop. So let's see a practical example using a while loop. Let's have an int and name it number and assign a value 0 while number is less than 100, and the body of loop s out number, and before printing it, increment the number. So this looks good. Now shift F6 to see what we get. Yep, as you can see 100, and we get the exact result, that is from 1 to 100. Now what is happening here, let me tell you. The number is assigned a value 0. Now at first this condition is evaluated and 0 is less than 100. This is absolutely true, and here the number is incremented by 1, so the number becomes 1, and we printed number, that is 1 is printed here. Now again with the println method, the value is entered, and at the second line we get 1 is less than 100. Then here number is incremented again, so it becomes true, and again printed, so we get the 2. And this happens for 99 times because this is less than 100, number is less than 100. So when this number becomes 100 and this is printed and it again goes here, 100 is less than 100, the while loop is terminated and the control goes here. So let's see how many times this while loop executed. Let's have another int, say count, where we'll be counting the number of times the loop executed, and count plus plus, and s out the value of count, plus, let's say times, to make it more readable, shift F6, and as here you can see 100 times the loop is executed 100 times. Now one basic thing that I want to cover here is the scope of the variable. Now this count is declared outside of the while loop, and the scope of this count is from here to here, that is in the main method. This count can be used anywhere in the main method. We have declared here, so we can use it here. But what if I remove the declaration from here? Let's control X and put it inside of the while loop. Now here you can see I have got an error that's saying cannot find the symbol. This is because now the scope of this variable count is limited to this block. Now this is very basic thing, but this makes a lot of errors if you don't know about the scopes. I haven't covered it in the previous tutorial, so I am covering it here. And if I remove this and put it here, as you can see here, as I have told you earlier, that Java is a strongly typed language. I cannot use a variable before actually declaring it. But here I am using a variable without declaring it before the usage. So this is giving an error that it cannot find the symbol, so I have to remove it from here and paste it somewhere above this. So this is the right place to place the count declaration. And also, if I'm having some other block than this main block, let's say I have a block here. Now I can use this count, the same name here also, and there won't be any error because a variable is limited to a block of code where its scope is. So using count in another block that is the same name variable in another block is absolutely right, and you can use it. But using the same variable here, that is declaring same variable count, it is not permitted even if you change the data type. Let's say we make it a float. See, variable count is already defined in main. So let's remove it, and these are some basic concepts. Now let's move on and see the use of break and continue. Here we have seen the use of break in the switch statement earlier, and here also we can use the break statement. Now let's say we want to terminate the loop on some given condition, and before this expression evaluates to false. So let's have an if condition here. If number is equal to, let's say 10, we want from 1 to 10. Here let's put a break and let's see what we get. Shift F6. Here you can see 1 2 3 4 to till 10, and the loop is only executed 10 times. But with this condition, if we haven't put this, we have seen it is executing 100 times. Now what happens when I'm using a continue? Remove the break and continue. Now let me remove this code from here and put it here. I've done this because whenever the continue statement is encountered, the code after the continue is not executed and the control goes directly to the first line of the loop. Now let's see what result we get. Shift F6. As you can see here is executed only 99 times because this count is not executed once when number is equal to 10. And let's see, we won't be having any printed 10 here. Yep, here you can see we don't get the 10 printed because of this continue. When the number is incremented to 10, this condition became true and the continue is encountered and it got straight to here. The number was 10. 10 is less than 100, so this was okay, and it 10 becomes 11 here, and this condition becomes false, so this is not executed and 11 is printed. Now the continue and breaks are clear now, I hope. So what continue does is it says that the loop should stop here but only for that particular iteration, and the break statement says that loop should now terminate and the code outside of the loop should start with the normal execution. Now there is also a slight variation in continue and break. Now this variation, that is the label statement part, will be looking in the for loop of control flow statements. Now let's see the nested while loop. So now let's have another example. Remove all of the code. Now let's say we have an int equals 0. Now let's have a loop while I is less than 5 and the body of the loop here. Now inside of this loop, let's have another variable named j equals 0. So we are initializing a variable j every time this loop is executed. Now let's have another loop while j is less than 5. So this is the body of nested loop, nested inner loop, and this is the body of the outer loop. Now let's have s out and print the value of j here and increment the value of j. j++, and here let's increment the value of I so that we don't get into the infinite loop. Let's shift F6 to see what result I get. 0 1 2 3 4 and 0 1 2 3 4 and 0 1 2 3 4 is 5 times we have 0 1 2 3 4. Now let's properly format it so that we get a proper view of the result. Let's remove this ln. This print method is used to print to the console but without enter after each character. So let's have a space here. Yeah, here it is, and let's have a s out. That is a single line after each execution of this loop is completed. Now shift F6 to see what we get. As here you can see we have a properly formatted output, that is 0 1 2 3 4 in the first iteration of the inner loop, and in the second iteration we get again the same result, that is 5 times we get the same result. Because this loop is executed 5 times, this part is executed 5 times, and this part for every iteration of the outer loop is executed 5 times. That is 25 times it will be executed. Now one more thing I want to tell is, if this condition remains true, this loop will become an infinite loop and will never stop. So if we give a true here, that it becomes true, and remove this and just make it s out. We have an I here and I++. So what this code does is infinitely increment the value of I and printing the I. Shift F6 to see what happens. As you can see, this continuously repeating the loop body, and let's cancel the run. As you can see, I've stopped it in a quite large value. So with this we come to the end of this part of the tutorial, and we'll see the other variants of loop in Java, that is the do while loop in the next, and after that we'll be seeing the for loop. So you can try many programs with the loops, and it is quite flexible and really a helpful thing to a programmer, so he's not doing the same code, writing the same code again and again. This is a very basic thing that every programming language has, so you should get a good command over these some basic topics and practice more and more questions that you can get. I'll be providing you some, and you can Google out more programs. So this is all for the tutorial. See you next time.